What do Japanese people think of foreign tourists? Japanese person point of view explained. I'm Japanese, so I can explain things from a Japanese point of view. I know you're probably worried about this and feeling quite sensitive. Overtourism, cultural differences, badly behaved foreign tourists. Now, I'm sure you're a sensible, good tourist, and I hope you have a good time in Japan. We can categorize Japanese locals based on their attitude towards foreign tourists in Japan. This is particularly useful because we can think of how we approach them. So here, I've come up with four main categories. Most of the typical Japanese people would fall into, from positive to negative. 1. Welcoming and positive attitude. 2. Neutral, observing attitude. 3. Exhausted and stressed attitude. 4. Cautious and negative attitude. When I go home, I've noticed recently that cautious and negative and also exhausted and stressed, these people are growing in number. This is probably because of the series of bad behaviors from small number of people, manners in tourism spots, over-tourism in general, causing issues. And when you're not causing issues, having negative views projected on you is definitely not a pleasant experience. Although I am Japanese, I know how it feels. When I go to Japan and I walk around with my husband, and a lot of people think I'm a foreign tourist too. But this kind of experience can be reduced or even avoided if we have a more context as to who we're dealing with and what they might be thinking. Also knowing where you might encounter them. So let's start from welcoming and positive attitude. So they are happy to see you, love that you're visiting Japan. They genuinely want you to have a good time. I would say a lot of the people actually fall into this category. They are typically either interested in cultural exchange. Some people just love interacting with the people from abroad, proud of their own culture and just love that you're interested in it. And some are valuing economic benefits of tourists. Foreign visitors are recognized as vital to tourism and local economies. In regional cities especially, there's a strong appreciation for foreign tourists. They're hoping that you guys might be able to revitalize the local economies. Always run some sense checks. I think these people you can just tell by just looking at them, but try smiling at them to confirm if they give you a big smile back or feel warm towards you. That's your best friend. Neutral or observing attitude. They are interested but keeping distance, or they just simply don't have any touch points with tourism. So they might be saying things like, I don't know much, but I don't have a bad impression either. I've heard there are a lot of them coming to Japan recently. I don't mind as long as they're not a nuisance. So they're like observers. They have little connection to tourism and they are just carrying on with the life they've always had before this inbound tourism wave. These neutral observers are almost in all demographics, in all places. But I think these people sometimes can be misunderstood by people visiting Japan because they might be thinking, I hope they don't speak to me in English because I don't do English. I think their attitude may be misleading and they can be misunderstood or make you sad. They wave hands and dismiss you or refuse to speak to you, and that's very sad. So some context here. Because they're so worried about being spoken to in English, they are reluctant to interact with you. So it's not like they don't like you, they just want to stay in a comfort zone. Interacting with somebody in English is out of comfort zone for many people in Japan. They are also worried about other Japanese people judging their language skills. So don't jump to the conclusion that they're racist and they don't like you, because they are just worried and thinking about themselves rather than you. They're not used to it and they just don't know what to do and they just want to escape from the situation, and you happen to be part of the situation. It's interesting because you'll probably realize when you approach Japanese people in a party of maybe 2 or more, they would be a lot more confident and comfortable to deal with you in whatever the language. But if you approach a single person when you're with 3 or 4 others, you might actually intimidate them. So it's that kind of game. But some would have no problems, whether English or Japanese. regardless of the language skills. They would just take the time to explain and remain fairly neutral, like they would do for other Japanese people. I personally think most of the Japanese people would try to help you if you're in trouble. But again, to confirm, we can run the smile check. If they look frightened or sort of look away, just maybe find somebody else to speak to. But if they feel a little cold, you might want to pay a little attention, because they are either observers or actually some other kinds, which I'll explain in a moment. Oh, the third, exhausted or stressed attitude. I get asked for directions every single day, the same questions over and over. It really is draining. Another group of tourists showed up this morning. I can't even enjoy a moment of peace. Tourists get priority for everything, while locals like me get left behind. I don't benefit at all financially, yet I carry all the burdens. They're exhausted and stressed, understandably. So I think from here you'll probably want to be careful, because you may pick up some unpleasant feelings if you're a sensitive person. They were maybe once neutral or even enjoyed having tourists around. They're now exhausted and stressed by the effect of overtourism. Let's look into it a bit more. So some context here. So they still understand the importance of foreign tourism, but they find it exhausting because they don't benefit from it directly, and perhaps they're bearing the burden directly and feeling perhaps left out by the authorities. I've seen these attitudes from restaurant staff, especially part-time workers, frontline transport employees, local residents, particularly homemakers and retirees, as well as cleaning and security people. I'm obviously not saying everybody in these roles is this way, but I've definitely noticed this trend growing. I understand the context behind it. Generally speaking, I think it's more common among those people with limited physical or mental capacity. So maybe they are low paid and may not find much purpose or fulfillment in their jobs, and they just don't directly benefit from the tourism. But no pay rise, not fun. You've probably seen them before, or will see them in places like Kyoto, Kamakura, stations in Tokyo, and perhaps airports. I definitely have. It felt to me these people are tasked with a job that is far too much more than they can handle, either ability-wise or, time-wise. They've just got way too much to handle on their plate. Exhaustion is really in their face. I mean, one Japanese staff at the airport was shouting at my partner, who's white British, in Chinese. He was exhausted. I think improving infrastructure, putting in some systems and technology can really take some of the stress away from these people. Kyoto tourism tax will be directly reinvested into improving these infrastructures and buses and all these things. Hopefully everyone's life will get better soon, because tourism isn't really going away anywhere, because it's an important industry now for the Japanese economy. Small restaurants are often operating on tight budgets, and I think they don't have enough cash flow to hire additional English-speaking staff. I mean, serving foreign tourists can be challenging and time-consuming, and often require additional support, like explaining about dishes, ingredients, how it's cooked, food allergy information, so on and so forth. By the way, did you notice that restaurants in Japan don't often check food allergy information with customers, any customers, because historically people didn't have a lot of serious food allergies in Japan. I think that's the reason. So it's not common for restaurants to ask you if you have any food allergies. So if you have one, you should tell them that you've got food allergy. Anyway, serving tourists is actually costing them more time and resource, and the tables won't circulate as quickly either. They get more customers, which is great though. 4. Cautious or negative attitude. Ouch. This is a red zone to me. I would urge you to be careful and alter your behavior, because you will probably pick up some sort of negative feelings or experience. These people are thinking like, it would be fine if they followed the rules, but recently not so much. Too many tourists, it's hard to commute or live normally even. I wish they'd stop taking photos in residential areas. People are very private. I want our town to go back to the peaceful place it used to be. I think their feelings are definitely aggravated by the recent news stories and some bad behaviors from certain tourists. And they're putting you in the same category as those people. So that's not good. Because you are a good tourist with common sense. So they are frustrated that tourists are breaking their rules. Complaints about littering, loud voices, queue jumping. People in Japan do queue jumping as well. It's a rule society, Japan. Understandable. So in places like Kyoto, Kamakura, they are very annoyed about problems such as overcrowding, intrusion into residential areas, taking pictures of somebody's front doors. Because of the overcrowding, the quality of their life has declined. Can't get on a bus to get to the hospital. That's a problem. So that's the kind of problem authorities need to sort out ASAP with this new tourism tax. It's not quite your problem. You could go to less crowded areas though. Watch my video. Particularly worrying one though. I'm seeing more people voice their concerns about people from abroad buying Japanese properties. SMEs, like small companies, are being bought by foreign companies. No rules by the government to regulate who can buy what and where in terms of properties. For example, properties surrounding self-defense facilities, anybody can buy it. A lot of other nations actually do have some sort of regulations or security checks, and in Japan we don't have any, apparently. It looks like there are some activists popping up with some following on social media. And I guess this could grow into a Japanese populism movement. And of course, you don't need to prove anything to these people with negative or cautious attitudes towards you. But if you want to improve your experience, you can always try and differentiate yourself from the other not so good tourists. So you can be quiet and mindful when others are around, even outside. We don't really shout. Be mindful and not block the path if you're in a group. If you want to stop and check your map, do that in a corner. Pick up rubbish or tell other tourists if they're littering or misbehaving. Try not to carry your massive suitcases around. Try to use delivery service or a taxi. Maybe not on a train. Try walking at similar speed to others. Just keep harmony with other people. It sounds silly, but these things will send signals that you're a good, decent person with a common sense. And if we are consistent with this, we can shift the views bit by bit, and collectively we can improve the reputation. It's fun, it's like collective effort, it's like shared experience. We've got something to prove here. I mean, you don't need to prove, but if you want to, you can prove, can't we? There's actually another thing that you can do, which is very, very easy. You basically wear relatively smart clothes. If you're wearing a stretched t-shirt, sweatpants and slides, Japanese people will probably think you're loose with the rules as well. Japanese brain. Whereas if you're smartly dressed, they'd probably think you're a decent person with a decent job, with a common sense that is similar to theirs. Simple. This is probably the same in most countries. But in Japan, people especially enjoy a company of decent people with common sense, because it's a rules society. Having context to who we're dealing with and changing our approach is something we actually do on a daily basis. But it's just difficult when you go to a new place and you just don't really know what's going on with these people. Especially Japanese people are quite different. And have a little strategy ready when you're dealing with different types of people, so that you can sort of navigate your way, avoid negative experiences as much as possible. And perhaps improve the relationships with the locals. I hope this would help you have a great time in Japan. So happy traveling. Please subscribe to my channel and hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. It would really motivate me if you like the video and subscribe. I'll also be doing some videos about me moving back to Japan with my family. So I hope I can share some insights into the process and the outcome as well. See you in the next video.